A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory sitting in Kubwa has granted an order of interim injunction restraining Senator Pt.2 from parading himself as the PDP candidate for Delta North Senatorial District. The order, which was granted following a suit filed by Honorable Ned Nwoko, consequently restrains the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from recognizing Senator Nwabushi as the winner of the primary election reportedly conducted on October the 2nd. The presiding judge, Justice Bello Kawu, also restrained Senator Nwabushi as well as his agents, cronies and supporters from parading himself as the winner of the PDP Delta North Senatorial primary, pending the determination of the motion on notice. The matter has been adjourned to November the 9th, 2018 for hearing. To politics. Most of those who will run in the 2019 general elections already know themselves after the electoral umpire, INEC, released names as submitted by the different political parties. About 79 of the 91 political parties have fielded candidates for the different elective positions, but the conduct of the primaries has left real trouble for several of the parties. In this next report, our political correspondent, Seun Okibaloye, highlights some of the incidents that have caused disaffection in the parties.
That is the scale of some of the outpours in some of the primaries of the political parties fielding candidates for the 2019 elections. Violent reactions, street protests, and angry expression.
Is the rightful winner of APC direct primary.
Some of the reactions to the conduct of the primaries. Many of the political parties have their share of the crisis. The ruling APC appears to be dealing with the most of the crises. Many of its members are already in court, many took to the streets, and others are planning to remove the chairman of the party.
Yes, one governor has publicly said he will ensure that I'm removed. That is fine. The beauty of democracy is any one or two could say something, but the majority is what matters.
The main opposition party, PDP, is not insulated from this sort of crisis. In full glare of live television, this happened. Accusations of names removed from the list and substituted.
We're marking the things you were removing from my own, made it suspicious.
The All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, is working hard to resolve his own crisis, disagreements caused by the primaries.
Orumba North and South constituency, no election was held, and you cannot impose somebody on us.
Donald Duke.
Members of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, are agitated after their presidential primary. They want the party to drop Donald Duke, who won.
It is patently clear that in accordance with the SDP constitution, Mr. Donald Duke did not meet the condition precedent for participating in the presidential primary of the party in the first place.
One of the new parties, the ANN, was embroiled in its own crisis, where two presidential primaries were held and two candidates emerged, but one has since gone to another party. The primaries are over, the lists are out, but some of the parties are still wriggling in the chaos left by the conduct of the primaries, and many of them might enter into the 2019 elections in that state. Seun Okibaloye reporting for Channels Television News.
Akin Oyebode is a professor of international law and jurisprudence. He joins us on the news at 10 for a broader look at the just concluded primaries. I want to thank you so much indeed, Professor, for coming on the news at 10. What's your impression, though, of the primaries at various parties across the country?
Well, I think it's reminiscent of what you can call a theater of the absurd. You know, we don't have circuses in Nigeria, so the political landscape is so farcical. It's like a charade, and quite sincerely, I must confess that it's not all that new. We had this experience, you remember when one of the candidates was said to have a K-leg some years back. So the contestation for political power is so intense in Nigeria because it's probably the only game in town. And that's why it's a do or die thing. And all sorts of things have been enacted which actually belie our claim to being a democracy. Apparently, there are some people behind the scenes, what you can call they call them godfathers, but I would say they are, in fact, like heads of the mafiosi. The political parties are like armies for seizure or capture of power. And the Pt.2, to use the language of Sicilian mafia, they decide who gets what, when, and how. The whole idea for me, I think, just reflects the stymied and repressed, shall I say, in fact, underdeveloped nature of our political culture, where our political culture is still in the process of becoming.
But are you surprised, though, that the major political parties, despite their ideologies, have recorded this appreciable level of crisis or conflict, if you will, within them?
No, I'm not all that surprised because the parties, in my view, represent the same beer. Only the labels of the bottles are different. So that's why heavens don't fall when members leave the party that they ran for office before or they were elected before and to another party, and people take it as normal. It just tells me about the underdevelopment of our political system. Okay? Where are the ideological differences between the leading parties? I fail to see those differences. So that is why we're going to have like musical chairs, okay? And no real inherent difference between the parties. I'm not surprised that you have claims and counterclaims through the political spectrum. Everybody wants to win. Nobody wants to lose. I hear many of our political actors are bad losers. Have you found a good loser in Nigeria when it's your only way to El Dorado? So quite sincerely, I think the circus will continue for until Nigeria matures in order to reflect ideological divides. Look at just what happened in Brazil today. There's a clear-cut distinction between the left-leaning party and the right, shall I say, fascist party that carries the day. But just as the Americans are ruining it now, that one Donald Trump is their president, I'm sure the Brazilians, I give them 6 months, they will now start saying that the more things appear to change, the more they remain the same.
But let's come back to our own local politics here and look at that final list of submission of names is expected to come through by 2nd of November. Do you see these parties addressing their challenges, the APC, some other parties as well that we saw? Do you see them addressing their challenges before that date and beyond, of course, 2019, the general elections?
I'm not too sure. Because, you see, the way parties emerge, we have synthetic parties. They are not organic, okay? They are just conglomeration of forces who have a stake in capturing power, not based on a preferred outlook, ideological stance, or in fact their manifestos. We've seen in this country that manifestos don't mean anything. We had parties that would say, I will do this, I will do that, in the manifesto, and they are voted into power. The first casualty of the transition is the manifesto of the parties themselves. So you just have more of the same. So a sense of deja vu, quite sincerely. Any astute observer of the Nigerian political scene will not be surprised at what we are seeing. That is the typical Nigerian political culture. We have not departed from the way things used to be. the way things are, and will continue to be until we have a drastic turnaround in our political affairs.
Even though we're hoping that 2019 will be that point where we'll have that drastic turnaround. But I must thank you, Akin Oyebode, Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, for talking to us on the News at 10. When the News at 10 returns, Coscharis Motors unveils new Ford EcoSport at the Abuja International Motor Fair. Join us again.